Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the Wuthering Waves tier list for version 2.7, updated for October 2025. If you've been wondering which characters deserve your resources, whether you're chasing the strongest 5 stars for main DPS or hunting for those underrated 4-star supports, we've got you covered. The meta has shifted quite a bit this patch, and some characters you might have slept on before are suddenly shining like never before. We'll break down who dominates each role, from the absolute powerhouses melting bosses in seconds to the clever sub-DPS units that make your team rotations feel buttery smooth. And of course, we'll talk about those reliable support characters that keep your squad alive through the chaos. So, grab your resonators, because it's time to see who's climbing and who's falling in the new tier list for Wuthering Waves version 2.7. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking characters in Wuthering Waves. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching! The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Yangyang, Taoki, Yuhu, and Lumi. You know that moment when you really want to love a character, but the game keeps reminding you they're just... okay? Yeah, that's exactly where we are now. Welcome to the C tier. These are the almost there but not quite heroes of Wuthering Waves. They try, they sparkle for a moment, but when the real heavy hitters show up, they quietly step back and let the pros handle it. Let's start with Yangyang, everyone's very first 4-star character, and basically the game's way of saying, hey, congrats, you exist. She's solid early on, with her arrow grouping skill pulling enemies together for some flashy combos. But as soon as you start unlocking stronger sub-damage per second units that offer actual damage boosts, Yangyang's usefulness drops faster than your frames in a crowded boss fight. She's that friend who helps you move in, but ghosts you when it's time to move out. Next up, Taoki. And look, with Jinxie entering the scene, Taoki finally got invited back to the party. She now works as a sub-damage per second in Jinxie's team, boosting Resonance skill damage while throwing in some quick switch hits during her Resonance liberation. Sounds cool, right? Sadly, her biggest problems are still there. Her kit has split scaling between her shields and her forte, which is like trying to bake a cake with 2 different recipes at once. She could have been an awesome hybrid between a sub-damage per second and support, but the inconsistent scaling keeps her stuck in mediocrity. Then we have Yuhu, the chaotic healer support, who decided that stability is overrated. On paper, she's got it all: healing, buffs, and some neat vibration strength depletion tricks. But in practice, everything depends on her random kit effects. You basically roll the dice every time you use her abilities, and sometimes the result completely ruins your rotation. And the cherry on top? Her outro skill only buffs coordinated attacks. And guess what? Only a few resonators even have those. So yeah, Yuhu's value kinda evaporates faster than your patience when you miss a parry. Now, let's talk about Lumi, our straightforward sub-damage per second who actually looks decent on paper. Her outro skill provides resonance skill damage amplification, which is a fancy way of saying she makes your skills hit harder. Her Forte Circuit and Resonance Liberation hit with solid multipliers, and when everything aligns, her damage is genuinely satisfying. The issue? Once you start relying on her basic attacks, the power level dips like a roller coaster. When her Forte Circuit is fully charged, she shines. But outside of that, she's just kind of there, waving politely while everyone else carries the fight. So yeah, the C tier is full of potential. Characters that make you say, if only their scaling worked better. If only their buffs weren't random, if only they didn't get outclassed so fast. But hey, at least they make the early game a little more interesting, right? They're like those side characters in a movie who don't save the world, but definitely make you smile before the credits roll.
The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Jiangxin, Lingyang, Aalto, Yuanwu, Qixia, and Baiji. You know when a character isn't bad but also not great enough to make you jump out of your chair? That's the B tier in a nutshell, the land of pretty good but not meta-defining. These are the dependable, middle-of-the-pack heroes of Wuthering Waves. They get the job done, maybe even surprise you sometimes, but when the A and S tier folks show up, they start sweating a little. Let's start with Jiangxin, the Queen of Balance. Part main damage per second, part sub-damage per second, and all-around flexible powerhouse. She can hold her ground as a main DPS, dishing out area of effect damage and grouping enemies like she's running a crowd control clinic. Her outro skill even buffs Resonance Liberation damage, which is a nice touch for team synergy. But here's the catch. She's a jack of all trades, master of none. Much like Spectro Rover, she doesn't quite specialize in anything, so in the ever-evolving meta, that middle ground leaves her hanging. Then there's Lingyang, the icy lion dancer who should be cooler than he actually is. He looks amazing, his animations slap, and his gameplay feels powerful, until you realize his damage just doesn't keep up with other 5-star main damage per second units. On top of that, the poor guy doesn't even have a dedicated Glacio support yet. Without someone to back him up, Lingyang's damage feels like a snowball in summer. It melts fast. Now, Alto might not be your first pick, but he's definitely got some flair. As a sub damage per second, he brings solid arrow buffs and a bit of style to every fight. He can hold his own, slicing through enemies with his quick skill rotations. The problem? He's kind of overshadowed by other sub damage per second units like Mortefi, who can keep dealing damage even when off the field. Alto needs a bit more attention and setup time, while others are just chilling in the back, farming numbers effortlessly. Yuan Wu, on the other hand, is that guy who quietly does his job without complaining. He's a sub-damage per second unit who dishes out coordinated electro attacks even when he's not on the field, which is always handy. Plus, he can reduce enemy vibration strength, that little toughness bar under enemies. Pretty neat, right? Well, only if the enemies decide to stay inside his circle. The moment they start running around like caffeinated chickens, Yuan Wu's usefulness drops dramatically. Let's talk about Chixia, the fiery gunslinger who's all about fast-paced combat. She's fun, flashy, and a great choice if you enjoy mobile, reactive gameplay. She excels in single-target fights. Bosses beware. But when the battlefield fills up with enemies, things get tricky. Her damage potential stays solid, but managing multiple foes can turn her into a dodging simulator. If you can reposition and time your evades properly, she shines bright. If not, she gets mobbed faster than a new shop opening on release day. Then we've got Baiji, the healer who steps up when the premium options aren't around. Think of her as the reliable backup singer. Maybe not the star of the show, but definitely keeping the group from falling apart. Her resonance skill and liberation allow for powerful burst healing, and her buffs can make the next on-field character feel like a hero for 36 seconds straight. Unlocking her first inherent skill even adds an attack boost for whoever picks up the Euphonia from her little companion, Yutan. Unfortunately, Baiji's kindness doesn't spread far. Unlike Verena, her buffs only apply to the next character who enters the field, not the entire team. That means you have to be super precise with your swaps, or else the flow of combat gets clunky. It's like she's trying to help everyone, but only has enough cookies for one person at a time. Overall, the B tier is full of characters who could easily shine brighter with a few buffs or better teammates. They're consistent, versatile, and fun to play, but they each have one or two weaknesses that hold them back from greatness. Still, these are the kinds of characters that make Wuthering Waves feel dynamic. Not everyone can be broken tier strong, and that's what makes experimenting with different lineups fun. You might even find that your personal favorite in the B tier performs better than an A tier when built right and played smart. So yeah, don't sleep on the B tier. They're the hardworking middle class of Wuthering Waves. Not flashy, not perfect, but absolutely essential. Sometimes the best adventures don't need the strongest heroes, just the ones who never stop trying. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Calcharo, Encore, Rover Spectro, Yin Lin, Rover Havoc, Zhengli Yao, Rover Arrow, Mortify, and Danjin. You ever meet a character in Wuthering Waves who just feels powerful the second you start using them? Not broken, not godlike, but clean, confident, and capable of carrying your team without breaking a sweat? That's what the A tier is all about. These are the dependable powerhouses, not overpowered, but absolutely reliable in the right hands. They don't need hand-holding, just a little love, some good gear, and they'll do the rest. Let's kick things off with Calcharo, the Lightning Lord himself. This guy brings serious electro main damage per second energy to the table. His resonance skill and liberation both pump out impressive amounts of electro damage. And now that Yin Lin is in the mix as his perfect partner, Calcharo's ceiling has shot way up. The synergy between them is electric. Literally. With Yin Lin backing him up, he doesn't just hit hard, he hits constantly. Next up, Encore, the fiery diva who doesn't just deal fusion damage, she lives for it. When she enters her Cosmos Rave state, she unleashes an avalanche of fusion damage that can melt enemies in seconds. She's reckless, loud, and unapologetically powerful. The only problem? She's squishier than a marshmallow in a microwave. Her Cosmos Rave lasts only 10 seconds, and there's zero crowd control in that state, so if you start taking hits mid-rave, things can go downhill fast. But when everything lines up, pure glorious destruction. Now let's talk about Rover Spectro, the original all-rounder. They're kind of like Jiangxin's cousin, a jack of all trades who's surprisingly flexible. Their outro skill can literally stop time, giving your team a quick breather or a perfect opening for a combo. They can also flex into main damage per second territory, with their Resonance Liberation dishing out impressive numbers. The problem is, they're too balanced for their own good. In a meta that rewards specialization, Rover Spectro's I-can-do-it-all energy doesn't quite keep up with those who focus purely on damage or support. Speaking of synergy, Yinlin deserves her own spotlight. She's the definition of a perfect sub-damage per second, constantly contributing to the fight even when she's not on screen. She boosts liberation damage and electro damage while firing off coordinated attacks that keep the electro vibes alive across the battlefield. With her in your lineup, your main DPS practically becomes a lightning storm on legs. She's versatile, stylish, and honestly, a must-pull if you love the electro archetype. Rover Havoc, on the other hand, brings pure shadow-fueled aggression to the table. This character thrives in the Dark Surge state where their basic attacks become an art form of destruction. Combine that with a high-burst Resonance Liberation, and you've got a monster on your hands. But here's the thing, you need to be good at dodging. The Havoc Rover's power depends on precise movement and maximizing attack windows. With their connection to the Dreamless mechanic, though, their burst damage can wipe out entire groups before they even know what hit them. Then there's Xiangli Yao, the cool-headed strategist. He's a main damage per second that thrives on slowing down enemies and dishing out massive Resonance Liberation damage. He's all about timing. Set him up right with buffs to liberation damage, and you'll watch him turn battles into poetry in motion. He's not flashy like Encore or wild like Havoc Rover, but his consistency makes him one of the most dependable DPS options out there. Let's not forget Rover Arrow, the underdog with future potential. Right now, they're more of a support unit, applying negative effects to enemies and setting up plays for the rest of the team. The problem? There just aren't enough characters in the game who benefit from those negative effects yet. It's like they're waiting for the meta to catch up. Their damage isn't bad, just not competitive with the big guns. But when future characters drop that sync with Arrow Rover's debuffing playstyle, their value is going to skyrocket. Mortefi, the 4-star legend, is another off-field champion. His kit allows him to launch coordinated fusion attacks every time you hit something, which means even when he's chilling in the back, he's still wrecking enemies. He's the dream sub-damage per second for heavy attack-focused characters, since his damage spikes every time your main DPS goes big. And because he's a 4-star, getting him built is way easier than chasing the premium units. He's proof that you don't need a 5-star to make a 5-star impact. And then there's Danjin, the free-to-play warrior's dream. She's not just strong for a free unit, she's genuinely good. Her damage potential is incredible, but it comes at a cost, her health bar. Danjin's HP drain mechanic keeps you on your toes, forcing you to balance aggression with caution. Against tougher bosses, that can get intense, but in the right hands, she absolutely melts enemies. It's all about skill expression. If you're confident, she rewards you with big numbers and even bigger satisfaction. So yeah, the A tier is where the real competitors live. These characters might not be broken or busted, but they're undeniably powerful. With the right team compositions, some investment, and a bit of finesse, they can easily punch above their tier. Each of them brings something special to the table. Whether it's Calcharo's Lightning Blitz, Encore's Fiery Chaos, or Yinlin's off-field consistency, the A tier is stacked with options for every playstyle. They're the type of characters you grow with. Not the ones that trivialize the game, but the ones that make you better at it. The kind you learn, master, and keep using even after the meta shifts. So if you've got one of these characters, don't sleep on them. Build them, trust them, and let them shine. Because while S tier might steal the spotlight, A tier is where the real skill shows. And let's be honest, nothing feels better than out-damaging someone's S tier unit with your well-built A tier favorite. That's the Wuthering Waves way. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Jian, Jinxi, Changli, Jeji, Camellia, Rochia, Cantarella, Lupa, and Sanhua. You know that feeling when a character walks onto the screen and you just know they're built different? That's the S tier. These are the peak performers, the absolute monsters of Wuthering Waves who don't just win fights, they define the meta. Whether it's absurd damage, unmatched versatility, or perfect team synergy, these characters make everything else in the game feel like it's playing catch-up. Let's start strong with Ji-Yan, the Elegant Storm himself. Ji-Yan's one of those main damage per second units that just feels good to play. Smooth combos, flashy animations, and the ability to delete both single enemies and entire groups with equal ease. His ultimate doesn't just deal massive damage, it also groups smaller enemies together, turning chaos into opportunity. And with the arrival of Whimpering Wastes, Ji-Yan found his niche as a top-tier pick for both consistent and burst-heavy encounters. He's versatile, stylish, and devastatingly strong, a true all-rounder. Then there's Jinxie, the queen of Spectro damage and one of the hardest hitters in the entire game. Her skill and resonance liberation combo can absolutely erase enemies. The multipliers on her kit are so high it almost feels illegal. Jinxie is one of those characters who doesn't need perfect gear or advanced rotations. Just hit her buttons and watch the health bars vanish. She's not just strong, she's meta-defining. Standing tall is the gold standard for Spectro main DPS units. Next up, Changli, the fiery martial artist who looks like she walks straight out of an anime finale. Changli is pure fusion power incarnate. She builds up stacks in her fourth circuit, and once it's fully charged, she unloads a devastating burst that can melt anything in her path. On top of that, her ultimate buffs her attack even further, making her a self-sustaining damage machine. Sure, she can act as a sub-damage per second thanks to her outro skill, but honestly, why would you bench a powerhouse like this? Changli deserves the spotlight, and she'll take it whether you let her or not. Now, let's talk about Jeji, the quiet powerhouse who turns good teams into great ones. She's a sub-damage per second who specializes in buffing resonators that scale off resonance skill, and she gives extra love to Glacio damage users. What makes Jeji incredible is her flexibility. She's best in slot for both Jinxie and Carlotta, two of the strongest main damage per second characters in the game. That means she's not just strong, she's essential. Her utility, buffs, and synergy make her one of the most valuable team members in Wuthering Waves right now. Moving on to Camellia, the Havoc artist who dances across the battlefield, leaving destruction in her wake. Her combos are elegant but deadly, hitting large areas with precision and flair. She's got range, power, and that satisfying rhythm that makes every combo feel impactful. Plus, she comes with a free sub-damage per second option, making her team building effortless. Camellia's kit is so efficient, it feels like she's carrying two characters worth of output in one. Then we've got Racha, the unsung hero of Havoc teams. As a sub-damage per second, she provides buffs that boost both basic attack and Havoc damage, and she brings some much-needed grouping utility to the table. When she's in your team, enemies stop being scattered annoyances and start becoming neatly arranged targets for your main damage per second to obliterate. Her personal damage isn't bad either, making her a strong pick for endgame challenges like the Tower of Adversity. The only downside? She really only shines in Havoc compositions. Outside of that, her usefulness drops a bit. Cantarella, though, is on a whole different wavelength. She's the glue that holds Mono Havoc teams together. Not only does she buff resonance and Havoc damage, but she also brings healing and sustain, something Havoc teams desperately need. Her coordinated attacks keep the damage flowing even when she's off the field, and her flexibility lets her replace a traditional support slot entirely. Most importantly, she's the beating heart of Frolova teams, enabling that unique echo skill damage playstyle. Outside of that niche, she's still good, but in the right comp, she's essential. Let's not overlook Lupa, the ultimate enabler for fusion compositions. She doesn't just enhance fusion damage, she amplifies it to absurd levels. In monofusion teams, she's the final puzzle piece that makes everything click. The synergy she brings to Encore or Changli is game-changing, elevating their output from strong to ridiculous. The trade-off? She's extremely team-dependent. If you're not running fusion characters, her value drops sharply, but if you are, she's absolutely indispensable. Sanhua might not scream meta monster at first glance, but don't be fooled. She's one of the best sub-damage per second units in the entire game. Her kit grants a 14-second basic attack damage deepen buff to whoever takes the field next. creating the perfect setup for burst-heavy characters. On top of that, her own damage isn't bad at all, especially if you master detonating her ice structures with heavy attacks. She rewards precision, timing, and skill, exactly what an S-tier unit should do. The S-tier as a whole represents peak synergy, characters who either define team archetypes or enhance them to perfection, whether it's Gion sweeping crowds, Jinsei dominating bosses, or Canarella gluing entire comps together. These units shape how people play Wuthering Waves. They're not just strong on paper, they're consistent, efficient, and satisfying to use. You don't have to fight your own kit or pray for perfect conditions. They just work. And honestly, that's what separates the S tier from the rest. A tier characters need careful setups. B tier needs strategy. But S tier? They just step in, press their skills, and rewrite the rules of combat. So if you've got one of these legends on your roster, congratulations! You're playing Wuthering Waves on easy mode. Just remember to appreciate their power, because everyone else is still out there grinding, hoping for the same kind of magic you already have.
The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Verena, Shorekeeper, Carlotta, Phoebe, Brant, Zani, Chacona, Cartethia, Frolova, Augusta, Yuno, Galbrena, and Chuyuan. You know that feeling when you build a team and everything just clicks? The heals come in right on time, the buffs stack perfectly, and enemies melt before they can even touch you? Yeah, that's the S+ tier experience in Wuthering Waves. These are the gods of the game. The ones who make content feel unfairly easy, even when you're barely paying attention. They're not just strong, they define the meta. Let's start with Verena, the golden standard of healing and team synergy. She doesn't just keep your team alive, she keeps them thriving. Every part of her kit contributes something valuable. Team-wide buffs, healing, and coordinated spectro attacks that heal your active character while slapping the enemy at the same time. She may not hand out crit rate or crit damage like the Shorekeeper, but her short on-field time makes her invaluable for teams that rely on long, uninterrupted DPS rotations. She's efficient, elegant, and absolutely essential. Then we have Shorekeeper, the queen of universal support. This character is so good she practically glues every meta team together. Her Resonance Liberation Field gives crit buffs, heals continuously, and even provides knockdown recovery and KO prevention. Basically, she's a one-woman insurance policy. If you ever wonder who should fill that third slot in your team, it's Shorekeeper. She's the MVP of consistency and survivability, hands down. Moving on to Carlotta, the icy burst queen of glacio damage. She's the kind of main damage per second who looks at enemies and says, "You have about 3 seconds left to live." Her resonance skill-focused damage output is insane, and when paired with Jeji, who boosts both glacio and resonance skill damage, she becomes a full-on storm. This synergy alone launches her straight into S+ territory. In the right setup, she doesn't just compete with the best, she is the best. Phoebe is another powerhouse who takes spectro damage to art form levels. Her entire kit revolves around Spectro Frazzle, a mechanic that, when properly utilized, lets her shred through even the tankiest enemies. Even without a dedicated sub-damage per second buffer, Phoebe's damage is close to Jinsei's, which says a lot. And now with Zani's release, her Confession mode finally has real synergy, letting her dominate as the ultimate Frazzle sub-DPS. She's stylish, effective, and absolutely deadly. Now let's talk about Brant, the team-wide buff machine who somehow manages to keep up solid personal damage too. He can convert energy recharge into attack, which is as wild as it sounds. Paired with Changli, he becomes a monster of efficiency, buffing, sustaining, and still punching hard. Even if you're running free-to-play setups, Brant's outro skill and forte circuit make him a must-have for any basic attack-focused composition. He's proof that support units don't have to sacrifice their own damage to make everyone else shine. Zani steps in as one of the strongest spectro damage dealers in the game right now. She runs best in Spectro Frazzle teams, which means she doesn't overlap with Jinsei's playstyle, making her a perfect alternate powerhouse. With the right setup, her damage actually matches Jinsei's. And even if you don't have Phoebe, she synergizes beautifully with Spectro Rover, giving free-to-play players an accessible yet incredibly strong team option. That flexibility alone makes Zani top-tier material. Speaking of synergy, Siakona deserves a standing ovation for being the ultimate arrow enabler. She buffs allies and debuffs enemies with ease, spreading arrow erosion and spectrofrazzle like a virus in a hurricane. The release of Cartethia finally brought her full potential to light. Cartethia's kit perfectly utilizes Chiakona's arrow erosion and arrow damage bonuses. Together, they form one of the most destructive duos in the game. Which brings us to Cartethia, the undisputed arrow queen. She's everything you could want in a main damage per second. Monstrous arrow damage, self-sufficient erosion application, and scaling that feeds off her HP, making her absurdly durable. She has completely dethroned Jian as the top arrow DPS, and the scary part, she's likely to hold that throne for a long time. If you've got Cartethia, congratulations. You basically have endgame content on easy mode.
Frolova, on the other hand, plays in a more complex lane. As a Havoc DPS that scales off Resonance skill and Echo skill damage, she's unique but demanding. Her potential is massive, especially with the right weapon, but that's the issue. She needs it. Without heavy investment, she struggles to reach her ceiling, and since easier Havoc options like Camellia exist, she becomes a luxury pick. Still, in the right hands, and with the right weapon, she's pure chaos incarnate. Then there's Augusta, the time-stopping Electro Goddess. She's not only a powerhouse in damage, but also one of the most mechanically interesting characters in the game. Her heavy attack and resonance skill combos hit like a truck, and when she pops her liberation, time literally stops for 7 seconds. That means ability timers, enemy attacks, everything freezes. She's easy to build, free-to-play friendly, and still manages to feel like an endgame boss when you use her. Her best partner in crime? Yuno. This arrow sub-damage per second is the ultimate multitasker, buffing heavy attack damage, healing the team, regenerating stamina, and still dealing solid personal damage. The only issue is that her full potential is locked behind Augusta synergy and her limited weapon pool. But when she's paired with Augusta, they form the single best Electro team in the game. It's an unstoppable duo, and Yuno is the quiet engine that keeps the storm going. Galbrina enters as the fiery perfectionist. She's a fusion DPS with split scaling between echo skill damage and heavy attack damage, which sounds cool until you realize it makes team building a puzzle. She needs her signature weapon to reach her full potential since most other weapons can't buff her echo skill damage properly. That said, when she's equipped right, she's one of the most dangerous DPS units in the game, capable of wiping fields with elegance and precision. And then we have Chu Yuan, the ultimate echo skill buffer. His rotation is lightning fast. Jump in, unload your buffs, and get out. His forte and outro grant powerful echo skill damage bonuses, and even extra critical damage to whoever takes the field next. His personal damage is fine, but his real value lies in how much stronger he makes everyone else. He's the kind of character that makes other characters feel like S+ tier. All in all, the S+ tier represents the peak of Wuthering waves right now. These aren't just powerful resonators. They're the pillars that hold up entire team compositions. Whether it's Shorekeeper's safety net, Augusta's frozen moments in time, or Cartethia's storm of destruction, each of these characters defines what it means to be meta. So if you have one of them, consider yourself lucky, because these are the resonators that make even the toughest content feel like a stylish walk in the park. And if you don't, well, better start saving those pulls. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.